15 Things every husband hides from his wife. One of the hardest things about this world is that we, as human beings, have to be able to come together and understand each other, while never fully being able to know what's going on inside somebody else's head. Telepathy is not something we have, so we have to rely on empathy instead, hoping that our understanding of the human race and the world around us is enough to get us through day-to-day life. This reaches a whole new level of difficulty when applied to romantic partnerships, as a whole new level of emotion becomes attached to the situation. This is why so many people feel they can use secrets and manipulative behavior to twist people around their little fingers when it concerns romance and sex. However, it can also be pretty standard for a loving couple to have at least some secrets that they keep from each other. We decided to throw together a list of the things that husbands often lie to their wives about, whether they'll admit it or not. Ready to see what your husband is lying to you about? Think your marriage or future marriage can take that strain? Well, we're about to find out. 1. Look, he just doesn't like your parents. Now, for a lot of wives, this is a big one, but there's very little we can help you with here. If your husband isn't keen on your parents, that's just something that you'll have to accept as long as he's willing to be civil and makes sure that he doesn't put you in the middle. This is when it can get pretty toxic, having a husband who's willing to emotionally blackmail and emotionally manipulate his partner merely because his in-laws are getting in the way. It can be difficult, but we promise that it will eventually become easier. On the plus side, it means you'll never have to worry about your parents hogging your partner if they never want to be around each other, and this will make the holiday season a lot easier as well. We know this just sounds like we're trying to spin a bad situation here, but this is a really tough one. 2. He probably has some female friends you don't know about. We're just being honest here, but there's a major chance that he hasn't told you a comprehensive list of all of his female friends, but this isn't as sinister as you think it is. It's not that he's hiding them from you, although that may be what he's doing and you should definitely talk to him if you think he's being shifty. It's most likely that he's just not bothered to mention everyone. Just as he'll have women in his life you don't know about, he'll have men in his life you don't know about as well. This is just how life is. Depending on what they do for a living and how sociable they are, it'd take a whole lifetime to relay exactly how many women men see on a regular basis. We're not saying don't be suspicious, but it's definitely not too much of a red flag if you ask us. 3. You may never know how much he actually makes. Now, we can actually imagine a lot of women reading this and laughing at the concept their husband would ever be able to keep their annual income a secret, as they're actually the ones in the relationship who are tasked with making sure that all of the financial needs are sorted out. Obviously, you're the people who really don't have to worry about this, but if you know nothing of what your husband makes and he keeps his bank statements close to his chest, then it's pretty likely you actually have no idea how much he's making. The number of marriages and relationships split up by money actually makes us really sad. It's an evil construct that we let rule and ruin our lives, purely because we're told that it's one of the most important aspects of being alive. Doesn't anybody else think that this is absolutely insane? Money should be done away with. 4. Husbands would rather you made less money. This, once again, keys into the idea of masculinity and what it means to your husband to be a man. Hopefully, you managed to bag a man who doesn't feel that his worth should be based on such archaic concepts as who should be the true breadwinner in the relationship, or that he even has to prove himself as a man purely because of the gender he was born into. Remember, you're both just human beings, and if your husband can't see beyond the fact that he's a man and you're a woman, this speaks to an insecurity that he has rather than you being insensitive. There's nothing wrong with a woman making more than a man in a relationship, something that all men need to grow up and realize. The very fact that this sort of thing is up for debate just highlights how we're still not truly equal. 5. They think they're smarter than you. Yet another throwback from a time when men were considered far better than women. This is something that you'll only find in the husband that you really shouldn't have ever entered into a relationship with in the first place. Not only could we write an essay on the idea that the term smarter is in and of itself a subjective one, but it's also so demeaning for somebody who supposedly loves you to consider himself smarter than you, whether you agree with him or not. Honestly, you should never hang around people who make you feel that they're more intelligent than you, whether it's your husband, your family, or your friends. Those are the sorts of people who won't be content until they've ground you down into submission, most likely because they have an insecurity about who they are and what they can offer in this world. Not worth it. 6. We'd keep your phones close to your chest if we were you. In this one-sided world that we live in, it's usually women who are painted out to be the snoopers in a relationship, but we're here to tell you that just because you're married to a man doesn't mean you don't have to worry about him taking a look at your tech. Ever since the invention of cell phones, it's become a lot harder to trust your partner not to snoop into your life, and if he does, it's a total invasion of your privacy, which shouldn't be swept under the carpet. Just because it's a new form of technology doesn't mean that it's any different from following you around or asking your friends what you're getting up to while he's not around. Without that trust, you don't have a worthwhile relationship. This is a sad truth that a lot of people aren't willing to accept, but if you do, it'll make life much easier in the long run. 7. There's a big chance he doesn't trust you. Just as you may have had troubles in the past that have led you to not trust people you end up in relationships with, your husband is likely to have dealt with similar issues that may result in him having less than full confidence in you. Is this all right? Of course not, and we're not saying that you should feel guilty for doing nothing, but just be aware that his trust levels may be a little dodgy, and you may have to have a conversation with him about this if you are hoping to open him up to the relationship in a major way. Sure, you should have done this well before getting married, but sometimes, love rushes you off of your feet and into something major before you know it. Another thing to be aware of is his friends. If his friends see women as monsters, it won't be long before he starts to see you that way as well. 8. Cuddling is something they love. Just like everything on this list, we're talking in generalizations here, but you'll find that most men actually love to cuddle once they get down to it, even enjoying being the big spoon from time to time. This goes back to what we were discussing earlier, where men feel as if they can't enjoy things that we've been told are particularly soft or feminine, but if the enjoyable act is cuddling, most men will be able to look past that nagging feeling in the back of their heads. All of this being said, you may not be with a man who feels comfortable with you talking about this sort of stuff with your friends. If you care about their feelings, this may be something you would want to think about, because if it ever got back to your husband, you may find yourself in the middle of a serious argument that you never wanted.